What is cluster feeding? Does cluster feeding needs formula supplementation? What are the tips to handle the baby going through cluster feeding? Get to know all about this and more in this video.
Hi, this is Trisha. We have started an online lactation consultation for mothers all around the world. It is at an affordable cost, so do check it out. Let's get started with the video.
Hi, this is Prachi. I'm lactation consultant from Prachi Lactation. In the last video, we discussed about how to breastfeed baby with mother having low thyroid levels or hypothyroidism. In this video, we shall be discussing about cluster feeding in babies. Let's see the signs that indicate that your baby is having cluster feeding. So let's first see what is cluster feeding. Cluster feeding is increased frequency of feeding that is experienced by babies when they are growing in size and height. This will occur each day on the same time, and normally this will last for 2 to 3 days and sometimes up to a week. Let's see the signs that indicate that your baby is having cluster feeding. The most common symptom is that baby displays feeding cues almost after 30 to 60 minutes of last feed, and this normally occurs on the same time of the day each day. Baby is irritable but not necessarily uncomfortable. Baby calms down after feeding and burping session. The most important differentiation between cluster feeding and any kind of colic discomfort is that baby is having normal numbers of wet and poop diapers. Also, the baby is having appropriate weight gain. Is formula supplementation needed? To understand whether the baby needs formula, it is important to first understand why exactly cluster feeding occurs. Cluster feeding normally occurs because baby is growing in height and weight, which means that more feed is required, and for this baby has small stomach capacity. That's why baby has to again and again feed. Most of the mothers tend to think it other way around, that maybe their breast milk is less in quantity and that's why baby needs to have the feed again and again. But that's not the case. When the baby is undergoing cluster feeding, no additional milk is required because mother's milk is never completely over when the baby finishes feed. There's always some amount of milk that is still there. So when the baby needs more milk, it is possible for baby to get it. Also, because the baby is removing milk frequently from the breast, the feedback loop is triggered and more milk is produced, and thus the breastfeeding itself will be normal. Now let's have a look at cluster feeding in different ages during first 2 months. Let's first see the cluster feeding at 2 to 3 days. During first 2 to 3 days, mother is having colostrum, which is a yellowish thick milk. This milk is less in quantity. When the baby experiences need to feed frequently, more often than not, mother tends to think that she has less milk, and that's why baby is unsatisfied. But that's not the case. Baby gets enough nutrition from that yellow thick milk. This phase normally acts as preparatory phase to produce mature milk. During this phase, when the baby does sucking, feedback loop is triggered, thus helping the mother to produce mature milk at a later date. The next phase of cluster feeding occurs at 1 week or when the baby is 7 days. During this time, baby is able to actually get more milk out of the breast as mature milk has already set in. Temporarily, mother's breast milk supply increases to accommodate the baby's needs. The next cluster feeding is experienced at 2 to 3 weeks and 4 to 6 weeks. When the cluster feeding occurs during these weeks, it is normally to help mother to build the much necessary breast milk supply, which can help the mothers during the months to come. Now let's see some of the tips to handle cluster feeding in breastfed babies. The first and foremost thing the mother can do for herself is to find 2 or 3 breastfeeding positions which are completely comfortable for her, because it's going to be a long tiring process. So when she tends to feed in the same position, there is possibility that she will strain her back or her neck. So it's important that she keeps on changing positions. If she is experiencing any kind of discomfort or soreness in nipples, then it is advisable to air dry the nipples after feeding and wear clothes after some time. If you have been prescribed any cream for soreness of nipples, then it is important that you wash it off properly before next feed, because it is possible that even if the cream is safe for the baby, it will be changing the taste of the breast milk. This can be uncomfortable for some babies. She needs to stock the place where she is going to sit for feeding the baby with juice, healthy finger foods, and all other supplies that she will be needing during that time. It will be good if mother selects a room which has a washroom, as she can access it in between the feeds. It will be a good idea to keep the mother busy and engaged during breastfeeding so that she doesn't fall off to sleep. And this can be done very well by watching a movie or by seeing a video that she likes to watch on a TV, or even listening to music. Now let's see some of the tips to handle the cluster feeding in formula fed babies. Mother requires to have a stock of clean bottles, water for making formula, box of formula, spoons, and all other supplies required for making formula in the place where she is going to sit and feed the baby. Mother needs to also stock finger foods and fresh juice and water for herself. Mother needs to ensure that she is feeding the baby in proper position. If she requires any additional pillows or back support for herself, she should arrange for that. Mother should keep a list of movies, videos, music, whatever she wants to hear or see during this time, because it's going to be 2-3 hours or more in that room with the baby, and it's obviously going to be exhausting. So this was all about cluster feeding. A detailed post on this is attached in the description box below.
For more details on this online lactation consultation, do check out the link in the description box below. If you want more details on this video, don't forget to check out the website www.prachilactation.com. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel. This is Trisha signing out. Bye bye.